The transaction came through at 2:17 a.m. $12,847. Alta Vista Memorial Services, Oakland, California. Kang Dae-young stared at his phone in a Las Vegas hotel room, and for the first time in 7 years, he couldn't breathe. Oakland, a name he buried, a city he hadn't touched since the night he ordered a man killed. The charge was made by his maid. The quiet one. The one who cleaned his blood-stained shirts and never asked questions. The name on the account she paid? Solomon Pierce, her father, the man he murdered. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let me take you back. 48 hours earlier, before the cards, before the test, before everything shattered, Zora Pierce worked the late shift. She preferred it that way. Fewer eyes, fewer questions, just her and the silence of a house too big for one man. The Calabasas estate sprawled across 3 acres of manicured emptiness. 6 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a kitchen that could feed 40 but only ever served 1. Security cameras watched the hallways, the entrances, the gates. But not the private rooms. Not the office. That was her window. She moved through the house the way she always did. Quiet, invisible, thorough, wiping counters that were already clean, folding towels that hadn't been used, polishing surfaces that reflected nothing but wealth. At 11:47 p.m., she entered his office. The room smelled like cedar and old paper. A single desk lamp cast long shadows across the walls. She emptied the wastebasket first. Always did. She checked for glass before tying the bag, habit from her first week when a broken tumbler sliced her palm. That's when she saw it. A torn page from a notepad. Crumpled, buried under paper towels. 16 digits. An expiration date. A 3-digit code on the back. She didn't take the paper. Didn't need to. She read the numbers once. Twice. Let them settle into memory like a song she'd heard before. Then she placed the page back in the trash. Tied the bag. Carried it out to the bins by the garage. No one watched. No one asked. She clocked out at 12:15 a.m. and walked to her car in the driveway. A 2011 Honda Civic with a dent in the rear bumper and 187,000 miles on the odometer. She didn't start the engine. She just sat there, hands on the wheel, eyes on the house. 11 months she'd been here. 11 months of cleaning his floors, pressing his shirts, learning his patterns. What the staffing agency in Encino didn't know was her history in Northern California. Or why she never requested time off in August. The porch light flickered once, then held steady. Zora exhaled slowly. Tomorrow, he would hand her a card and tell her to spend it however she wanted. He thought it was a test. He had no idea. She'd been waiting 11 months for this moment. What she does with it is quiet, but it changes everything that comes after. Stay with me. If you're watching right now, subscribe, and let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Kang Dae-young woke at 5:14 a.m. The same way he had for 15 years. No alarm, no phone, just his body knowing when the night was done. He stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his bedroom, watching the San Fernando Valley crawl awake beneath a bruised orange sky. Calabasas spread out below him, gated communities, infinity pools, secrets tucked behind hedges and security systems. He fit right in. At 41, Dae-young had the kind of face that revealed nothing. Sharp jaw, eyes that watched more than they spoke. Gray threading through black hair at the temples. He dressed in tailored clothes but nothing flashy. No watches that screamed. No rings that demanded attention. Power, he learned early, doesn't need to announce itself. His morning routine never changed. Black coffee, financial reports, silence. He sat at the kitchen island scrolling through account summaries when his phone buzzed. A text from his accountant in Glendale. Routine update. Nothing flagged. But something else had been flagged 3 days ago. A photograph, taken at a private dinner in Beverly Hills. Him, a business associate from Seoul. A conversation that should have stayed invisible. The photo surfaced on a Korean gossip forum. Anonymous post. No source. Someone in his circle had leaked it. The question was who. He had 3 women close enough to have access. 3 women who moved through his life with varying degrees of intimacy. Mireille Fontaine, his girlfriend of 14 months. French-Senegalese. Former model. She loved cameras almost as much as she loved his credit limit. Priscilla Yoon, his personal assistant for 3 years. Korean-American. Sharp. Ambitious. She knew his schedule better than he did. Zora Pierce. The maid. 11 months. Quiet. Efficient. She cleaned his office when he wasn't there. Any one of them could have seen something. Any one of them could have talked. He needed to know who he could trust. Not with questions. Questions invited lies. He needed proof, the kind that came without warning. At 9 a.m., he handed Murray a black credit card at the breakfast table. No limit. 3 days. Spend it however you want. Her eyes lit up like Christmas morning. She kissed his cheek, already reaching for her phone. You're the best, baby. She didn't ask why. At 2 p.m., he gave the second card to Priscilla in his office. She paused, studied his face. Is this a reward or a test? Does it matter? She smiled, controlled, careful. Thank you, Dae-young. I'll use it wisely. At 4 p.m., Vincent Cho, his head of security, stood in the doorway. The cards are active. Both women already spending. He glanced at his tablet. You want me to track them? Everything. Locations, purchases, contacts. Vincent nodded, then hesitated. What about the maid? Dae-young looked up. Include her. Vincent almost laughed. The maid? What's she going to do? Buy groceries? Dae-young didn't smile. That's what I want to know. Day 1. Murray started at Rodeo Drive before noon. Vincent's team tracked her through Beverly Hills like a breadcrumb trail of receipts. Gucci, Balenciaga, a leather handbag that cost more than most people's rent. She tried on sunglasses at 4 different stores and bought all of them. By 3 p.m., she dropped $41,000. By dinner, she was posting Instagram stories from a rooftop restaurant in West Hollywood. Champagne flutes, city lights, a caption that read, blessed and highly favored. She tipped a valet $300 and called him adorable for a parking guy. She didn't text Dae-young once. Priscilla moved differently. No shopping sprees, no social media, no noise. Day 1, she booked a fitting at a private tailor in downtown Los Angeles. 2 custom suits, 1 navy, 1 charcoal, boardroom armor. Day 2, she flew to San Francisco. Vincent flagged it immediately. She's meeting someone. The surveillance photos showed her at a members-only club in Pacific Heights. Seated across from 3 men in expensive suits. All of them executives. All of them connected to companies that had been circling Dae-young's territory for years. She wasn't spending. She was positioning. Building relationships with his competitors. Preparing her exit. Using his money to fund her next move. Vincent sent the report to Dae-young that night. She's not loyal. She's strategic. Dae-young read it twice. Said nothing. Zora worked her normal shifts. Day 1. Day 2. Same routine. Same silence. She cleaned the kitchen after dinner service. Folded linens in the guest bedroom. Polished the bathroom fixtures until they reflected her face back at her. She didn't swipe the card once. Vincent noticed. The maid hasn't used it, he told Dae-young on the second night. Maybe she forgot. Maybe she doesn't know how it works. Dae-young stared out the window. The city glittered below like something beautiful and empty. She didn't forget. What Vincent didn't see was what happened during her lunch break. Zora sat in her car in the driveway. Engine off. Windows cracked. A granola bar and a bottle of water on the passenger seat. She wasn't eating. She was scrolling. Hospital billing portals. Account balances. Payment history. One account in particular. She checked if it accepted third-party payments. It did. She verified the total owed. $187,412. Interest still climbing. She checked the name on the account. Confirmed it matched. Then she closed the browser. Took a breath. Stared at the steering wheel. Her hesitation was not about legality. It was about intent. She could pay the debt. Clear it in one transaction. No one would ever know. But that wasn't why she was here. She wasn't here to erase the past. She was here to make him see it. The question was how, and when. Day 2 ended. Murray had spent $89,000. Yacht rental confirmed for tomorrow. 50 guests. None of them Dae-young. Priscilla had spent $41,000. 3 meetings scheduled. 2 more competitors contacted. Zora had spent nothing, but she'd made her decision. Tomorrow, at 2:17 a.m., everything would change. Murray spent his money on herself. Priscilla spent it building her escape. But the maid? She didn't spend a single dollar on her own comfort. What she bought instead can't be found in any store. If you're still watching, you already know this story is different. Subscribe, you're not like them. 2:17 a.m. Zora sat on the edge of her bed in a one-bedroom apartment in Van Nuys. The room was small, clean, bare walls except for a single photograph on the nightstand, turned face down. A window unit hummed against the August heat. Outside, the 405 freeway droned like a river that never slept. Her phone glowed in her hands. She'd typed the numbers 3 times already. Deleted them twice. The payment screen waited, cursor blinking. Patient, $12,847. Alta Vista Memorial Services, Oakland, California. Her thumb hovered over the confirm button. 11 months. 11 months of silence. 11 months of watching him eat breakfast, take phone calls, sign papers that moved money from one shadow to another. 11 months of folding his shirts and wondering if he ever thought about the people those shirts were stained for. He didn't. She knew that now. Men like Kang Dae-young didn't carry their sins. They buried them, filed them away, moved on. But she couldn't move on. Not while her father's grave sat unmarked in a cemetery that forgot he existed. She pressed confirm. The screen flashed green. Transaction complete. Zora set the phone down. Walked to the window. Stared at the city lights bleeding through the blinds. It was done. 8 hours later, Harold Tran frowned at his screen. The accountant worked out of a small office in Glendale. Fluorescent lights. Tax documents stacked in uneven towers. A Dodgers mug filled with cold coffee. He reviewed Dae-young's accounts every morning. Routine. Mechanical. Most days, nothing stood out. Today, something did. $12,847. Alta Vista Memorial Services, Oakland. The amount wasn't the problem. The card had handled charges 10 times that size without a blink. It was the location. Oakland. Harold pulled up the transaction history for the past 5 years. Scrolled. Scrolled again. Nothing. No Oakland transactions since 2017. He flagged it. Forwarded the alert to Dae-young's secure line. No comment. Just the numbers. Dae-young was in Las Vegas when the notification came through. He sat in a hotel suite at the Wynn, reviewing contracts for a new club opening on the Strip. The curtains were drawn. The room smelled like leather and recycled air. His phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. Read the flagged transaction. His jaw tightened. Oakland. He set the contracts aside. Pulled up the merchant details. Alta Vista Memorial Services. A cemetery. Grave maintenance. Headstone installation. He dialed the number directly. A woman answered on the 3rd ring. Pleasant voice. No suspicion. Alta Vista Memorial, how can I help you? I'm calling about a recent payment, he said. Calm. Controlled. Made early this morning. I need to verify the account it was applied to. She typed. Hummed softly. Yes, I see it here. Payment received for plot 247. Headstone installation and grave restoration. Whose plot? A pause. Keys clicking. Pierce. Solomon Pierce. Dae-young stopped breathing. The name hit him like a fist to the chest. A name he hadn't spoken in 7 years. A name attached to a decision he thought was buried deeper than any grave. Solomon Pierce. The Maid. His maid. 7 years ago. Oakland, California. Solomon Pierce was a numbers man. Quiet. Careful. The kind of accountant who wore the same 3 suits on rotation and brought his lunch to work in a brown paper bag. He had a wife named Lorraine who taught Sunday school at Greater Hope Baptist. A daughter named Zora who was finishing her senior year at UC Berkeley. He was invisible. That was the point. For 6 years, Solomon managed financial records for a joint operation between Kang Dae-young's network and a larger syndicate based in Los Angeles. He tracked payments, moved funds through shell companies, made dirty money look clean on paper. He never asked questions, never complained, never drew attention, until he started skimming. Small amounts at first. A few thousand here, a few thousand there. Numbers that could hide in rounding errors and transaction fees. But Dae-young noticed. He always noticed. The order came in March. Quick, clean, no witnesses. Make it look like a robbery gone wrong. Solomon Pierce died on a Tuesday night outside a parking garage in downtown Oakland. 2 shots. Wallet taken. Watch missing. The police wrote it up as street crime. Case closed in 6 weeks. Dae-young didn't attend the funeral. Didn't send flowers. Didn't think about it again. Until 3 months later, a contact in the DA's office reached out. Quiet conversation. Off the record, Solomon Pierce hadn't been stealing for himself. He'd been building evidence. Dates, names, account numbers, enough to bring down half the operation on both coasts. He was going to testify. Dae-Jung sat with that information for a long time. A man he thought was a thief had actually been trying to escape. Trying to protect his family. Trying to do the right thing. And Dae-Jung had him killed for it. He buried the information, deleted the files, never spoke of Oakland again. Some sins, he told himself, are better left in the ground. Present day, Las Vegas. Dae-Jung sat in his hotel suite, phone still warm in his hand. Solomon Pierce. The name echoed in his skull like a bell that wouldn't stop ringing. He opened his secure drive. Pulled a file he hadn't touched in years. A photograph appeared on the screen. Solomon standing outside a church. Lorraine beside him in a yellow dress. And between them, a young woman. Maybe 21, 22, dark skin, natural hair pulled back. Sharp eyes that looked directly at the camera. Sharp eyes that looked familiar. Dae-Jung pulled up the staffing agency file. The photograph loaded. Same face. Same eyes. 7 years older. Zora Pierce. Daughter of Solomon Pierce. Employed at his Calabasas residence for 11 months. His chest tightened. She'd been in his house. Cleaning his kitchen. Folding his laundry. Walking past his office door every single night. And he never knew. He scrolled through her employment record. References. Background check. Work history. Nothing flagged. Nothing suspicious. She'd applied through the agency like anyone else. But she wasn't anyone else. She was the daughter of the man he murdered. And she'd just used his credit card to buy her father a headstone. Dae-Jung stood. Walked to the window. Vegas glittered below, neon and noise and people chasing luck they'd never catch. He pressed his forehead against the cold glass. 11 months. She'd been waiting 11 months. For what? Dae-Jung returned to Calabasas 2 days later. He didn't confront Zora immediately. He had other business first. Murray was dismissed on a Wednesday morning. She showed up at the house expecting brunch. Instead, she found her bags packed and a car waiting in the driveway. "What is this?" she demanded. Dae-Jung, what's going on? He stood in the foyer, hands in his pockets. Face blank. We're done. Done? Just like that? After 14 months? Just like that. She screamed, cried, threw a vase that shattered against the marble floor. He didn't flinch. Security escorted her out. The gate closed behind her. He never saw her again. Priscilla was dismissed that afternoon. She took it differently. No tears. No shouting. Just a long look that said she understood more than he wanted her to. "This is about the meetings in San Francisco," she said. He didn't confirm or deny. "I was protecting myself," she continued. "You would have done the same." "Probably." She nodded slowly, gathered her things, walked to the door. Before leaving, she turned back. "Whoever told you, make sure they're worth trusting." The door clicked shut behind her. The house went quiet. No girlfriends, no assistants, no noise, just Dae-Jung and the silence. And Zora. Mid-afternoon, Thursday. Zora stood in the kitchen folding linens. White towels, crisp edges, mechanical movements. She heard him before she saw him. Footsteps on hardwood. Slow, deliberate. He entered the kitchen and stopped at the island. Didn't sit, didn't speak, just watched her. The air changed. She kept folding, hands steady, eyes down. 30 seconds passed. A minute. Then his voice. Low, controlled. "Tell me about Oakland." Her hands stopped. She didn't look up. "What do you want to know?" "Tell me about your father." Silence. She set down the towel. Straightened her spine. And for the first time in 11 months, she looked him directly in the eye. "You already know." The kitchen felt smaller. The walls closer. The security camera in the corner would record this moment as stillness. 2 people standing, not moving, not speaking, but everything was being said. "Why did you come here?" Dae-Jung asked. "I needed to understand." "Understand what?" Zora's voice didn't waver. "The man who gave the order. I needed to see him up close. Watch how he eats, how he sleeps, how he talks to people who serve him." She paused. "I needed to know if you were a monster. Or just a man who stopped looking at what he'd done." Dae-young said nothing. She continued, I've been here 11 months. I've cleaned your blood-stained shirts without asking whose blood it was. I've heard your phone calls. I've watched how you treat people, the ones who matter to you and the ones who don't. And what did you decide? The question hung between them. Zora held his gaze, unflinching, unafraid. I'm still deciding. He searched her face for something. Anger, hatred, the promise of revenge. He found none of those. What he found was worse. Patience, the kind that outlasts rage. The kind that waits without flinching. The kind that watched him for 11 months and never once looked away. She picked up the towel. Resumed folding. You can fire me if you want, she said quietly. But you won't get answers that way. He stood there for a long moment. Then he turned and walked out of the kitchen. That night, Zora didn't sleep. She sat on her apartment floor in Van Nuys, back against the wall, knees pulled to her chest. The window unit rattled. The freeway hummed. Somewhere outside, a dog barked at nothing. Under her bed was a lockbox. Black metal. Combination lock. She'd carried it with her through 4 apartments and 2 cities over 7 years. She pulled it out, spun the dial, opened the lid. Inside, her father's watch. A photograph of him holding her at age 6. A birthday card he gave her the year she turned 21. And the letter. She'd read it maybe 100 times. Maybe more. The paper was soft now, creased at the folds, the ink slightly faded from years of handling. But the words never changed. Zora, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And I need you to know the truth before anyone else tells you their version of it. I wasn't a good man. I told myself I was. I told myself I was just doing a job. Moving numbers, balancing books, keeping my head down so I could keep you and your mother safe. But that was a lie I told to sleep at night. I knew where the money came from. I knew what it paid for. I helped them hide things, Zora. Bodies in paperwork, blood in balance sheets. I was part of it. By the time I understood what I'd become, I was in too deep to walk away. So I tried something else. I started keeping records, dates, names, transactions. I thought if I gathered enough, I could trade it for freedom. Witness protection. A new life for us somewhere far from all of this. I was going to testify. But I think they found out. And if you're reading this, that means they got to me before I could get us out. I'm sorry, baby girl. I'm sorry I wasn't the father you deserved. I'm sorry I put you and your mother in danger. I'm sorry I waited too long to do the right thing. Don't carry my sins. Don't let what I did become your prison. Live free. Live clean. Live like I should have. I love you more than I ever showed. Dad. Zora set the letter down. Her hands were trembling. 7 years. 7 years of grief. 7 years of believing her father was an innocent man murdered for something he didn't do. But he wasn't innocent. He'd moved money for them. Helped them bury evidence. Kept their secrets in spreadsheets and shell companies. He wasn't a victim. He was a participant. And his death wasn't just murder. It was consequence. She pressed her palms against her eyes. Breathed deep. Let the weight settle. This was the part she never told anyone. Not her mother. Not the therapist she saw for 6 months after the funeral. Not the grief counselor at the church. Her father had done terrible things. And she still missed him every single day. That was the cruelest part. Loving someone whose hands weren't clean. Mourning someone who helped build the machine that killed him. She looked at the letter again. Don't let what I did become your prison. Too late, Daddy. She'd already walked into the cell. 11 months ago, when she took a job cleaning floors for the man who gave the order. The question now was whether she'd ever walk out. Her father wasn't a victim. He was complicit. He helped them bury bodies in paperwork. Does that change anything? If this story is making you think, if it's sitting heavy in your chest right now, then you belong here. Subscribe. Because the people who stay for stories like this, they're not looking for easy answers. They're looking for truth. Vincent Cho had been with Dae-young for 15 years. Former LAPD. Discharged under circumstances nobody talked about. He knew how to read a room, secure a perimeter, and make problems disappear without leaving traces. He was loyal. He was paranoid. And right now, he was furious. She's a threat. Vincent stood in Dae-young's study, tablet in hand, jaw tight. The afternoon sun cut through the blinds in sharp lines across the hardwood floor. She's been in your house for 11 months, Vincent continued. She knows your schedule, your habits, your contacts. She knows when you sleep, when you leave, when you're vulnerable. Dae-young sat behind his desk. Still, silent. Her father worked for you. You had him killed. And now his daughter is folding your laundry. Vincent shook his head. That's not coincidence. That's a setup. She hasn't done anything yet. Vincent leaned forward. She's either gathering information to sell, or she's waiting for the right moment to put a knife in your back. Either way, she's a liability. Dae-young didn't respond. Vincent pressed harder. Protocol says we handle this. Clean, quiet, no traces. She disappears and we move on. Silence. Dae-young, are you listening to me? I heard you. Then what's the decision? Dae-young looked up. His eyes were cold, steady. No. Vincent blinked. No? She stays. That's insane. She's the daughter of a man you. I know who she is. Then you know what she's capable of. I know what she's chosen not to do. Dae-young stood, walked to the window. She's had 11 months. 11 months of access. If she wanted me dead, I'd be dead. Vincent's voice dropped. If you won't handle it, I will. Dae-young turned slowly. Touch her, and you're done. The words hung in the air like a blade. Vincent stared at him. 15 years, and he'd never heard Dae-young protect an outsider. Not once. Not ever. You're making a mistake, Vincent said quietly. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. That evening, Dae-young found Zora in the garden. She was kneeling beside the rose bushes, pulling weeds with bare hands. Dirt under her fingernails, sweat on her brow. The setting sun painted everything gold. He stood a few feet away. Watched her work. Vincent wants you gone, he said. She didn't look up. I figured. He thinks you're dangerous. Am I? Dae-young paused. I don't know yet. She pulled another weed, tossed it aside. You should leave, he said. It's not safe for you here anymore. Now she looked up, eyes sharp, steady. I could have left 11 months ago. Why didn't you? She stood slowly, brushed the dirt from her knees. Because leaving is what my father did. And it got him killed. Dae-young stepped closer. Staying might get you killed too. Zora held his gaze. No fear, no hesitation. Then I'll die looking you in the eye. Not running. The garden was quiet. Just the wind through the hedges. Just two people standing in the fading light, measuring each other. He could have her removed. He could let Vincent do what Vincent does. But something in her eyes stopped him. Something that looked like the truth. The question came 2 nights later. They were standing on the back patio. The city glowed orange and distant beneath a sky choked with stars. Somewhere below, a coyote howled and another answered. Dae-young had been watching her for days now. Not through cameras. In person. Studying her the way she had studied him. Zora leaned against the railing, arms crossed. She knew he was there. Didn't turn around. Can I ask you something? He said. You can ask. Doesn't mean I'll answer. He stepped closer. Stood beside her. Both of them looking out at the valley, not at each other. Your file says you've never requested time off. Not once in 11 months. I work. That's what you pay me for. But there's 1 week every year you go quiet. Mid-August. You don't call in sick. You don't ask for leave. You just disappear inside yourself. Her jaw tightened. Why August? Silence. The wind moved through the jacaranda trees. Purple blossoms scattered across the stone. Then she spoke. August 14th. She paused. Let the date sit between them. 7 years ago, I was supposed to meet my father for dinner. Our usual spot. A barbecue place in East Oakland he'd been going to since before I was born. Dae-young didn't move. I was driving from Berkeley. Running late. There was traffic on the bridge, and then, she stopped. Swallowed. Flat tire. Right there on the Bay Bridge. 20 minutes to change it. Her voice was steady, but her hands gripped the railing like it was the only thing keeping her upright. By the time I got to the restaurant, the police were already there. Lights flashing. Yellow tape. People standing around with their phones out, recording like it was entertainment. She turned to face him now. Eyes wet. Voice cracked but unbroken. 20 minutes. That's all that separated me from being in that car with him when they came. Dae-young's chest tightened. If I'd been on time, I would have died beside him. Same bullets. Same blood. Same unmarked grave. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. August is when I remember that I survived because I was late. And I've spent 7 years wondering if that was mercy or punishment. The patio was silent. Dae-young stood frozen, his mind racing through the details of that night. The order he gave, the instructions he approved. Solomon Pierce. Alone. Clean hit. He never knew there was supposed to be someone else in that car. His voice came out rough, barely above a whisper. I didn't know you were supposed to be there. Zora looked at him, really looked. Would it have mattered? The question hung in the air like smoke. He didn't answer, because he didn't know, and that silence said everything. She turned back to the valley. The lights below blurred through her tears. Every August, I think about those 20 minutes. The tire going flat, the jack that almost slipped, the trucker who stopped to help me. She laughed softly, bitter. A stranger saved my life and didn't even know it. And the man who tried to end it is standing right next to me. Dae-young said nothing. There was nothing to say. 1 week later, Zora drove north. Past Bakersfield, past Fresno, through the Central Valley where the farmland stretched flat and endless under a white sky. She arrived in Richmond by late afternoon. The hospice was a single-story building with beige walls and plastic flowers in the lobby. It smelled like antiseptic and something sweeter underneath. Something nobody wanted to name. Lorraine Pierce was in room 12. 61 years old, late-stage pancreatic cancer. The doctors said weeks, maybe less. Zora sat beside the bed, holding her mother's hand. Lorraine's skin was paper-thin now. Her eyes clouded but still sharp. Still aware. You look tired, baby, Lorraine said. I'm fine, Mama. You're lying. But that's okay. I taught you how. They sat in silence. The monitors beeped. A nurse passed in the hallway. Then Lorraine squeezed her hand. I know where you've been working. Zora's breath caught. Don't look so surprised, Lorraine continued. A mother always knows, even when her daughter thinks she's being clever. Mama, hush. Let me talk. I don't have much time left for words. Zora nodded, waited. Lorraine stared at the ceiling. Your father left money. The room went still, hidden, enough to clear every debt. Enough to pay for this place. Enough to give you a fresh start somewhere far from here. Zora's voice cracked. What? I never touched it. Why? Lorraine turned her head slowly. Looked her daughter in the eye. Because it was blood money. Every dollar earned from the things he did. The things he helped them hide. She paused. I didn't want that stain on your life. Zora felt the tears coming. Hot and fast. All these years, she whispered. All these years I struggled. And there was money the whole time? There was money. But there wasn't peace. That's what I wanted for you. Peace. Zora drove back to Calabasas the next morning. The debt was cleared. Her mother was dying. The truth was finally spoken. She could leave now. Disappear. Start over somewhere nobody knew her name or her father's sins. But she didn't. She walked through the front door of the estate. Dropped her keys on the counter. Stood in the kitchen where everything had started. Dae-young found her there an hour later. He stopped in the doorway. Watched her. You came back. I wasn't finished. With what? Deciding. He stepped closer. The space between them felt heavy. Charged. My father wasn't innocent, Zora said quietly. You're not innocent. I'm not innocent. I walked into your house with a hidden name and questions I never asked out loud. She looked at him. None of us are clean. Then what are we? People who get to choose what we do next. The kitchen was silent. Dae-young waited. I'm letting go, she said. My father's sins. Your order. The girl who almost died on the Bay Bridge. I'm done carrying the dead. And me? She held his gaze. Not with forgiveness. Not with love. With something harder to name. You're still deciding too. I can wait. She didn't come for revenge. She didn't come for money. She came for acknowledgement. And sometimes that's heavier than any punishment. The headstone was finished 3 weeks later. Gray granite. Simple letters. Solomon Pierce, beloved father. Flawed man. Some debts can only be witnessed. Zora stood before it alone. The Oakland wind pulled at her jacket. She didn't cry. She didn't pray. She just stood there, letting go. Would you have stayed? Comment below. Tell me what you would have done in her place. And if this story reached you, if it sat heavy in your chest and made you think, then you belong here. Subscribe. More stories like this are coming. Stories that don't give easy answers. Stories that stay with you long after the screen goes dark. I'll see you in the next one.